Hi to another video. I wanted to make this video about how difficult it is for parents to get the right treatment for their kids. And it takes a very good parent to figure out that surgery is not the only option and that you can look further and get other options and find vision therapy and then pursue the vision therapy, and it takes at least a few months, or often it takes years, to keep pursuing this treatment and keep making sure the visual development stays on the right track. So it takes a very caring, very smart, very persistent, very tenacious parent to go through all this. And even me now, I'm a parent of 2 kids. I know all these things about vision and binocular vision, how it should be developed. I think if my kids had a binocular vision problem, still it would be very hard, even with all this knowledge, to actually pursue the right treatment and to find the right therapist and to pay all the fees that are associated. So my point is, it takes an extraordinary parent in the current system in many countries. Maybe some countries are better than others, but usually it's hard to find and it's expensive. And I wanted to give some more context, maybe about why maybe in my own situation, in my own upbringing, we were actually it was not that hard to find maybe the right treatment, but you, as a parent, you have to have the right kind of priorities. You have to be kind of guiding your kid, looking at your kid. Maybe my kid is not doing so well. What can I do to improve my kid's performance, or how can I make my kid more happy, or make my kid blend in more? And why didn't that happen in my case? Because I think, first of all, the strabismus could have been prevented by giving glasses earlier, but my mom took the right steps, I think. But even then, when the strabismus happened, and there was some patching, so my strabismus developed at 3 years old, and then because of like accommodation problem, because I'm farsighted, so that if you would have given me glasses on time, you could have prevented the strabismus. But then the glasses came too late, the strabismus happened, a little bit of amblyopia set in, then they patched, and then I became an alternator. So the strabismus stayed, the esotropia, and I became an alternating esotrope. But so it could have been prevented, was not prevented, and every step after that was too little, too late, and they never treated with full-on vision therapy to restore the binocular vision and to have me acquire stereo vision. And then much later, they actually started talking about surgery at the age of 16. But so even when I was little, they didn't even mention surgery, which maybe was a blessing or a curse. It's hard to tell now. But definitely the surgeries later on at 16, 18 and 19 were definitely not the right thing to do. And if I would have known about vision therapy, I would definitely not have consented to the surgeries. And this is also a thing that, as a parent, you're much more knowledgeable. In my case, my parents must have had a basic, they know English well, so they could have maybe looked into other resources, but as a young person, I didn't have the knowledge or the capabilities to look for this information. So that's what a parent should do, and that's what I'm doing for my kids. I'm using all my knowledge and capability to make sure they can avoid these traps that I fell into, and other traps, of course. But so the point why that didn't happen with my parents is that one of my parents is actually a narcissist, and if you haven't met one or you haven't lived with one, or it's like a personality type or a personality disorder, and it's hard to explain to people who have no experience with them, because it shapes, it warps your whole view of the world if you're raised by one, but then later you kind of grow out of it and you're frustrated, and you always knew it was not normal, but you don't know to what extent, and it's hard to, like, there's parts of it that you know consciously it's not normal, but then there's also so much like unconscious that you absorbed that you kind of know maybe it's not true or it's wrong, but it's in your system. And so the reason why I feel they never looked into proper treatment is that this personality disorder just sucked all the air out of the room, that there was no kind of energy or no attention to look for another treatment. But I kind of prepared a little bit, like just summarizing for myself. I read like books about this personality disorder just to understand what happened and to kind of process my own emotions later on. But now I'm older and I processed most of it, and I kind of let it go. But I think it's still interesting to talk about. And yeah, like only in the current system where it's very hard to find help, only the best parents with the most resources and who really want the best for their kid and really care a lot about their kid and very caring parents, they will find the right solution and execute the right solutions. But yeah, that's a small percentage, I feel. Even if you have it takes, like, all cylinders have to be going at the same time, at the right pace to just get to the right solution, but that's not the case for many people. And then also there's language barriers, so many barriers in the end. So how do people get to be a narcissist? Usually they're deeply wounded, or they had like deeply unfulfilled needs in their own childhood, so that's why they have like this hole in their psyche or heart that can never be filled, and that's like has a lasting impact on their personality, and they develop some kind of personality traits or characteristics to deal with their wound. And so in a way it's maybe not their fault, but like how it influences the daily life of the people around them is super annoying, to say the least. And it seems also, once you're a narcissist as an adult, it's almost impossible to kind of, usually they're not even aware, so they don't look for help, quote unquote help, and they don't see it as a problem, so they're not aware, so there's no real hope to improve, let's say. And in many ways also, it is not really a problem to them if they can survive, and often it also leads to some form of professional success if they have other traits that makes them eligible for success. So even it's rewarded in some cases. So some of the problems are like arrogance and exaggerated sense of self-importance. So only what he does, or in case of a woman, what she does is important, and what all the rest does is of minor importance, and just they're just secondary importance. And only their job is important, what they're doing is important. If you're doing something, it's stupid, and so they only focus on their own needs, and they might envy other people who might be doing better at something, and then they just kind of diminish or kind of pawn it off as, they just got it, or it's stupid, or it's bad, or whatever they're doing is undeserved. And a lack of empathy is also part of this category. And so how does that manifest? For example, they focus on trivial material stuff, this lack of empathy, and they're not addressing like health or emotional needs that their kids might have or their spouse might have. They're just kind of caring about their own goals or material things. So they put usually yeah, like a very clear example is like when the kid is sick or puking, they care more about like the carpet, let's say, than about the health of the kid. And their own problems are always worse than everyone else's problems. So it's like there's kind of a sense of who is me, not nurturing, guiding kids, but actually these people are often competing and beating down their kids. They cannot control them, and they want to be quote unquote better than their kids. And yeah, the best way to achieve this and to dominate the situation, dominate their kids and keep them under control is to keep them dumb, weak and sick. So in a way, if your kid has strabismus, for example, and has reading problems because of this, it's kind of convenient because you can keep control and like always feel better than your kid and kind of dismiss the kid, and it's very harsh. And yeah, just because of also the lack of empathy, they never really listen. You cannot really communicate with them about real emotions or problems. They're just not open to it, and they don't want to, right? They just want to talk about their own problems or about trivial stuff, or read the newspaper and talk about like world events instead of talking like a real person to person. It's really you're kind of talking, but you're never really talking. And they have this strong, so because they were wounded as a kid, I suppose, and they never had this validation as a kid, they always need admiration and validation. So the other partner in the relationship often has to kind of baby them and listen to all the things, the unfair things that happen to them. And if the person, the partner would talk about their own day or something, often it's dismissed, or their own problems, and it's all about them, right? And whatever the other person says is not important. And after a while, the partner kind of gives up, and whatever they want, if you don't fight back against this and you keep enabling this behavior, in the end, there's nothing left, right? You cannot even talk about your day or talk about your own worries or your own feelings. Your own activities are kind of ridiculed. You will be isolated from your family and friends. And in the end, it's all about the narcissist's wants and needs and whatever they want to do. And you have to be there kind of to assist or to be present. But it's not like you really influence what's going on. You just have to be there. And it's more like an observer. So it's very hard to be a wife or to a narcissist. But yeah, either you start like there's no curing this, and in the beginning usually it's not that bad. You don't really in the beginning of the relationship they will kind of be able to hide it and act more normally. But then as they draw you in, the boundaries are always shifted and always moved. So they kind of manipulate you, and they prey on you on you being nice and just maybe he's right, and kind of gaslighting, and maybe he's right, maybe I was wrong, and like every time the boundary is moved. And so in the end, everyone is just focused and enrolled to realize or accomplish the personal goals of the dominant controlling parent. And this is enforced with threats and blackmail and domination and with kid. Like I had kind of a strong will as a kid, but in the end, you're not knowledgeable enough. You're in a weaker position. Just as like in a hierarchy, right? In a if you're the kid and he's the parent, and then on top of this you have like this visual disability. In the end, it's not like your will is really broken, but it's like an unwinnable fight. And I couldn't really fight on all the against the injustice of the narcissism and against this visual disability that I didn't really understand yet. and that I later understood. And then this combination was really difficult to handle. Yeah, and then my mom was really nice, but she gave a lot of compassion. She listened a lot. You could talk to her, but then in the end, she would always be overruled. Basically, she was too nice. She didn't have a backbone, let's say. So also when you read books about narcissism, basically the advice is like, whatever you do, don't marry them, and don't have kids with them, because then you're stuck dealing with them forever, right? And if you meet them in a professional context, there are ways to deal with it, because you're not dealing with them 24/7. And yeah, there's no winning with them, right? If you start playing their game, yeah, they kind of basically win. You don't. It's also not worth playing this game. It's better to kind of, if you, in a professional context, to broaden the social context, let's say, and then if there's more social control, or try to move positions, or try change jobs even, or try working for other people, just try to avoid this person in the end. And if you really can't, there's ways to try to keep it under control for a while, but it's impacting your own mental health. And so how does that in the end impact like a kid like me or other kids who grow up with this? But I think the combination of the strabismus and the narcissist parent, that was what kind of broke me. I think I could have handled one or the other, but yeah, I really needed help with the strabismus, of someone who cared and was smart enough to find help. But if that wasn't there, I think I would have been fine, and just you deal with the parent, and then after a while you're an adult, and then you don't need to deal with them as in such an intensive manner. I think the problem is that if they kind of install or cause disabilities, because some narcissists can even be violent. So if the narcissist is really violent and really breaks the kid in many ways, yeah, then there's lasting damage, and not only psychological but physical, and then there's no way to really become independent and kind of escape. So it makes life later very difficult, and yeah, becoming self-sufficient, independent person becomes difficult. And then there's also a risk of becoming a narcissist yourself, because then you really are right in saying like, woe is me, and if you have seen this behavior, you kind of tend to fall into the same traps, right? But like in general, kids need to feel comfortable at home and secure at home to handle like a terrifying world. That's like kind of a given. If I read some of the educational books that about raising kids, it's always emphasized your kids need to feel safe at home so they can handle with the uncertainty outside. And so I always felt like the school, for example, was more my home than at home, but that also puts more strain and puts more importance on these relationships in school. And that's also dangerous, because like to them they're happy at home maybe, and then they have some friends at school. But to me, these friends at school were more important to me than they were to them. And then you kind of start expecting more from these relationships, and you're bound to be disappointed. And you're also, yeah, so you're disappointed in other people, and then you're disappointed at home, disappointed in school, and you just get like this dark misanthropic view of people in general. And yeah, that leads to like a lasting depression. Also, like you're looking through the world through the lens of your narcissist parents. So things that would be normally fun, like an activity let's say, could go to a restaurant or something, like a family activity that's usually fun, they're not fun anymore because you cannot be yourself anymore, and whatever you say is criticized. And yeah, in the end, it's all about the company. Like, it's something can be fun if with good company, but with bad company, it's just ruined, right? So if that's all the time, everything you do, like even fun things become not fun anymore, and just in general you become depressed, and you acquire this kind of learned helplessness because everything that you do is criticized, and you're competing with this parent, and they kind of want to prove that they're better than you all the time. So, and also you notice this narcissists are usually very capable to pretend in professional or social context that they're kind of normal and charming even, but then at home they will, like, it will be hell and yelling to their wife or their kids or whatever. So you also as a kid kind of think, people are nasty, people are always pretending to be nice in public, but then at home they're so mean, so everyone must be like this, right? Or many people. And so you get this warped view of human nature. So you're kind of disappointed in other relationship that you put too much emphasis on. You're disappointed in this parent, and you're disappointed maybe in the other parent because they're not fighting back, or they don't have any backbone, so they kind of feels like they're also betraying you in the end. And yeah, so this kind of parent sucks all the air out of the room and draws all the attention to them and focus all efforts on their own needs and wants and kind of problems. So yeah, your problems as a kid, if they're severe, like strabismus, and they need complicated solutions, and they need solutions that take a lot of effort to execute, and maybe some extra resources, and like some solution that it's off the beaten path, like vision therapy is not that easy to find and not easily prescribed by a doctor or whatever. So this takes extra effort, and I've seen that effort done by other parents that contact me, for example, for solutions for their kids, or if you look in the Facebook groups of people, parents who pursue vision therapy for their kids. It's amazing what these parents are capable of doing. And people often say, parents only want the best for their kid, but I always kind of, that quote always kind of made me feel uncomfortable. Like, so then I thought, no, that's not true. Not every parent wants the best for their kid. That's just something we tell ourselves to hope that it's true, but not really, it's not true. So every good parent wants the best for their kid, and they will make sure their kid gets the best that is possible. Like, of course, there are limits to what you can do. But I really, as a parent myself, I really try to, or I'm sure I have a different style. And I myself was also lucky to get some help from other family members to see that not everyone is the same. And I kind of rehabilitated, not only visually I tried to rehabilitate, but mentally and socially and psychologically I was rehabilitated to a large extent. And then I was able, I met my wife, so I was, the advantage of having a narcissist parent is that you're very capable of recognizing them. And that's often the problem with like very sweet people. They cannot even imagine that such a personality type exists, or such people exist. So that's how they get trapped, and they're too nice, and they always let the other person move the boundaries, and in the end they're completely owned by the narcissist, and they're just in a prison of the will of the narcissist. And especially if there's kids in play, it's very hard to walk away. So it's not really specifically strabismus related, but in my case, they are like everything is connected, right? So this had a big impact on my strabismus treatment, or the lack thereof. And I'm sure some people will relate to this, even people who don't have strabismus. And if you had a narcissist parent or partner, it's always useful to read up on it, because when I read a book on it, or I looked on the internet about this personality disorder, I was so struck by how precise the definitions are, and like the bullet points with the symptoms or personality traits are so spot on. And so it's like it's not like a coincidence, or it's not, it's amazing. So then once you understand, you can kind of process, and you can also learn how to deal with it, and you don't have to seek revenge or whatever. It does make sense anyway to seek revenge. It's an unwinnable game. Just try to, it's very hard, because they might have ruined like decades of your life or whatever happened. But yeah, then you just have to regroup and try to take your distance and try to put yourself together and make the best of it. But today's video is not super strabismus related, but I hope it was useful to some people, or even people without strabismus. And if it's useful and you recognize some of it, of your own experience, then please let me know. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.